a ditch. No, me. Because what? I made a joke saying women can't drive?
Well, there seems to be
So-
a common thread with the conservatives, by the way. And you kind of alluded to it by the pastor in Nebraska as an example. They're marrying their high school sweetheart, one woman, have sex with one woman, that's who you marry. Where you're viewed as a womanizer, and you proudly said this.
I wish.
But yet Elon Musk gets a pass.
Well, no, but this is the thing. I did a long 30-minute video on this exact subject, but I want to talk about this. In fact, let me put my sunglasses back on. And
by the way,
I want to look
Andrew,
cool.
camera.
Let me look cool.
Damn.
I wish I could meet one woman in high school and fall in love with her. I wish I could. That sounds like a blessing. And I support them absolutely. But I didn't. I grew up a different way, and I didn't. And truthfully, I have a different worldview. Now, we can go down this whole conversation. Perhaps we should. But I did a long 30-minute video on Elon and his recent baby drama. And I was explaining that all the people who are insulting Elon don't seem to understand that at his economic bracket and at his capability and at his mental, with his challenges that he's facing, I don't know the guy personally, but I would argue that his primary interests are rockets in space and Tesla. He's probably not that interested in sitting around with girls and having date nights. He wants to do rockets and Tesla. So what does he need from females? Children. So that's what he does. Does he pay for them? Does he take care of them? Are they safe? Does he love them? Yes, but he has other concerns. This is the business of kings. That's what kings do. Progeny, sons, heirs, cool. Back to work. I understand Elon, absolutely. Trump does the same thing. He has 3 or 4 baby mothers. I don't know. This is the business of kings. If you have the financial capability to take care of 5 or 6 different women and they're all happy to birth your progeny, then you're going to have a whole bunch of children. This once again comes down to jealousy. The pastor in Nebraska is jealous of me because I will always have more kids than him because I can bake more bread because I have more ovens. You can be mad. You can hate me for it. You can say I'm the bad guy. But my children are paid for. They're safe. Their women are paid for. Nobody's unhappy. Everybody's happy. That's the scenario that we're all in. It's my life decision. It's their life decision. And it's nothing to do with you. I don't criticize you making your decision, so don't criticize me making mine. That's the bottom line of it. But they're jealous I have more influence than them. I understand, but to sit there and pretend that it's a threat to society that I have a whole bunch of rich women living in mansions, having children that we're all happy, is garbage. There's much larger threats to society than that.
Just to specify, because if you're going to say this pastor from Nebraska, let's give him some love. Do you remember his name or no?
No.
His name is Pastor Shane Eidelman. I think that's the guy.
I literally, you know what's funny? Maybe it was subconscious. Maybe I scrolled past it.
Is this the guy? Is this him?
You know what? Maybe it was subconscious and I scrolled past it because I made up pastor from Nebraska off the top of my head. So if there is one who hates me, it proves that I have a pretty good feel on the demographic who hates me, because I'm sure there is a pastor in Nebraska who's saying, Andrew Tate's the devil.
Well, if it's not him, he just got a shout out.
Bro, I mean,
It's true.
God bless, Pastor.
Guys, Elon's in the business of kings. He's trying to have progeny. My security team in 21 years from now will be my 10 sons. That will be my security team. I will make 10 sons, and they will be my security team. I have an objective to complete. Now, if a woman comes to me and says, Andrew, I'm better than the rest. I can grow a baby in a week. I'll say, all right, then. I'll be loyal to you. Done. There you go. If it takes 9 months to grow a baby, that's a skill issue. It's not my problem. I got work to do. So that's it. I'm very honest and open about this. Anyone who wants to attack me for it, that's their prerogative. But I'm not the enemy of civilization in the West. In fact, I would argue I was a large weapon in saving the West, in getting Trump elected, in waking men up, in fighting against the insanity. I would argue I've been on the good team for a very long time, and I have suffered for that. If any of these little pastors or any of these little conservative accounts had any actual influence over the needle or over society, they'd be in jail, or they would have caught a case. They didn't. Trump caught a case because he mattered. I caught a case because I mattered. J6ers got cases. That's what they do. Governments, the Matrix, when they're mad, they give you a case. If you're sitting there with your Twitter account going, I'm a conservative and I've been preaching conservative values for years, and I don't know why the boys like Andrew Tate and not me, because I go on long Sunday walks, and why don't they look up to me? I wish I was famous. You didn't catch a case because nobody gives a fuck what you say. Your ability to speak freely is directly correlated to your insignificance. If you are important and people listen, you cannot speak freely. Even now, there's a whole bunch of things I want to say that I cannot say. So I was attacked for my capability in the war against these people. That's what I was attacked for. And anybody who hates me, who hasn't caught a case, with respect, you don't matter. Even our enemy don't think you matter. You can be mad at me all you want. Think about this. We're all charging at the guns. We're all charging at the machine guns. And every single enemy machine gunner is saying, look at that guy. That's Tate. Shoot him. If he gets to our trench, we're fucked. Shoot him. What about him? He's a pastor from Nebraska. Don't shoot him. Let him run. He can get here. Nothing will happen. They don't have no power. They have no influence. They have no capability. So they're mad at me. And they try to pretend I'm the bad guy. I'm not your bad. I'm not the bad guy. I just beat you. I'm just better than you.
You say that having children is the business of kings, right?
Correct.
So I don't know how many you have. Elon's at 14. I don't know if you're trying to compete with him. Pat has 4. And he's very loudly and proudly said he'd have 20 if he could.
Yep.
What I want to understand is the role of a father. We see basically the decline in civilization right now, especially in America, about the lack of fathers in homes. We talked about the African-American community. How often should a father be with their child? And I'd love to get PBD's opinion on this, because it would seem to me he's way more hands-on with his children than you. So how do you grapple with that?
Interesting question. And I would say that instead of just talking about fatherhood, let's talk about masculinity and men as a whole, because depending how competent you are as a man depends how potent you are with your time. So before I apply this to fatherhood, I'm going to apply it to something else. If you are a man who works in Starbucks and you're not that interesting and you're not that successful, for you to have a woman to be loyal to you, you need to be next to her all day, every day. You need to hold her hand and you need to be with her every night. And you have to come home every day and you have to talk to her all the time and text her all the time, etc. If you're one of the most famous, important, rich men in the world, you can talk to a girl an hour a day or 20 minutes a day, and you can see her once a month and she'll be loyal to you. Why? Because of the potency of the man, the capability of the man. It's like most things, right? You need less potent alcohol than you do need a whole bunch of weak alcohol. And I would argue it's the same with fatherhood. I think the best fathers are so busy getting things done that, yes, they see their children. And I see my children all of the time. I see a different child every single day. So I'm with my kids 2 or 3 times a week, all of them. But I'm so busy getting things done that I can't be with them all the time. It's true. I argue that would be offset by the fact that I am who I am. If I meet an average person on the street, someone I've never even met, and they say, I watched your videos, you changed my whole life, and I meet them for 5 minutes and I shake their hand, it becomes their story for the week. I can have an influence on people quickly because I'm potent. And it's the same with my children. My father raised me that way. My dad could be home an hour a week because he was my dad. Now, there's other dads who'd say, you're a bad dad, I'm home all the time. You're a couch potato. You ain't raising your son being a couch potato. You may be there, but you have no impact because you don't matter. I have stories to tell. I'm fighting the Matrix. I'm interesting. So I would argue, same with Elon. Let's apply it to Elon. Anyone who says Elon can't be a good father because he has so many kids is an idiot. You think Elon, with his influence and his brain and his capabilities and his achievements, can't see his children for a few hours and make a massive impact on them? You think his children aren't going to grow up and know that his dad is the first person to colonize Mars and be proud of his last name? Of course they will. Of course. If you want to be a couch potato and sit at home and have no stories to tell and no capabilities and think that makes you a better father, well, then you're just an idiot. And you're not even raising your kids because YouTube's raising your kids or the school's raising your kids. You're sitting there jerking off to porn and watching fucking sports with Dave fucking, what's his name?
Portnoy.
Dumbass. Dave Dumbass. You're jerking off over porn. So these people aren't better fathers than me. That's an attack vector they're going to use against me. Of course. I'm not saying I don't see my children. I'm saying they don't matter. I'm saying that I believe with my financial capability and with my achievements, I can have a whole bunch of children. I can put them all on private jets in and out and see all 10 in a day if I need to. And I believe I have a large enough impact on them. My children listen to me and they respect me and their mothers are happy. That's my view.
You're saying quality time is way more important than quantity of time.
I'm saying your capability of a man as a man in all realms. Your capability as a man reduces the amount of time you need to spend there. Look at a CEO. A CEO can spend an hour a week in a business. He's the CEO. Mm-hmm. It's different than if you're a normal guy. You got to be there all the time. I believe that potency as an individual allows you to speed run things. You can speed run fatherhood. You can speed run being a boss. These CEOs who have 20 companies, and they just turn up once a month because he's the boss. It matters when he's there. And it's the same with me being a father.
PBD, is this something you agree with right here? Because you spend a lot of time with your family. I mean, you spend
which is a good thing. By the way, that's a fantastic thing. And there's nothing that makes me happier than being with my family and my children. I just have a bunch of them.
Yeah, but let me tell you on what he's saying, a part of it for me, I wrote 4 things down. Mm-hmm. Intentionality as a father, if you're intentional. One day my dad, before I'm having kids, I'm having a conversation with him. I'm like, listen, for many years, I saw you once a week. I calculated how many days I saw my dad from the day I was born till I was 18 years old. It was like 500 days.
Really?
I only saw him 500 days. It was once a week. And then when my parents got a divorce, in Germany, I never saw him, never even talked to him once for 18 months. And when I came here, they got a divorce. I saw him once every other week for 1 day. So you're talking about what, 26 days a year. 26 days a year for 5 years. Do the math. I've seen the guy 500 days from 0 to 18. He's my hero. He lives with us, right? I asked him, I said, do you regret any of it? He said, not at all. I said, why not? I said, look at the man you are today. You're independent. You're a leader. You're all this other stuff. But let me tell you something here that I think Vinny and Adam, you guys are going to get emotional when I play this clip. Have you seen what Gene Hackman said about his father?
No.
Gene Hackman just died at 95 years old. Nominated for 5 movies, 5 Oscars, right? I think he won 2 of them. Phenomenal actor. I don't think anybody disputes how great of an actor he was. His house, where one time at Pebble Beach, the guy says, that's Gene Hackman's $30 million house. This is like 12 years ago. He's asked here about his father. In this interview, he's 78 years old. I want you, by the way, did you even know I was going to play this clip? Rob, did you show him the clip or they haven't seen the clip?
Who's 78?
So Gene Hackman died at 95. This is him at 78. This
17
is
years ago,
17 years ago. The interviewer is a great interview. This Insider Actor Studio does a great job. He asks him about his dad who walked away at 13 years old. Look how this 78-year-old alpha winner reacts to that question. Go ahead, Rob.
How old were you when your father left? Well, my dad left us when I was about 13, I guess.
Was it easy, hard?
No, it was tough.
Tough. I've read that there was a sort of a casual wave goodbye.
Yeah, I was down the street playing with some guys, and he drove by and kind of waved, and
that was it. But you saw him occasionally, presumably, huh? Were you close to your mother?
Yeah. Excuse me.
Did life change radically?
It's only been 65 years or so.
Wow.
Still affects him at 78 years old.
That pause, I know that he pictured that moment with his friends and his dad just going, peace out.
And that's beautiful. And I'm about to cry now because I miss my father every single day. But I haven't left my children, and I'll never leave my children, and I'm there for my children. And you said a very important word there. You said intentionality. I think that's important because if my sons come over for 2 days, for those 2 days is very intentional parenting. It's very focused. It's very directed. I would argue that Andrew Tate, for 2 days, focused and directed, will be a better influence on boys than 12 hours a day, every day for most of these normal dudes sitting around on the couch ignoring their kids. So we have to also keep in mind intentionality and potency. And we also have to keep in mind financial capability. Elon can raise 14 children. He can simply afford it. Correct. I can simply afford to have 14 kids. These kids are not abandoned in any way. I speak to them on the phone every single day. I see them all the time, 2, 3, 4 times a week. So this is just another attack vector that's used against me because, it's hard to call me stupid and it's hard to call me broke and it's hard to call me unsuccessful. So the easiest attack vector on me is to call me a bad person. So they simply say Andrew Tate's bad. Well, why is he bad? Oh, because he doesn't see his kids. How the fuck do you know? How the fuck do you know? Oh, because he hates women. Says who? Oh, I made a joke. Sure, I made a joke. I hate women. Well, how come I have so many women around me if I hate them and I'm such a bad person? I'm so mean. Oh, but he was accused. Accused by who? Romania? Like, this is all garbage, right? There's nothing I enjoy more than being a father. I love being a father and I love raising my children. I think it's the most beautiful thing on the planet. I always say to people, there's nothing more important than having kids. I advocate for it all the time. And I would argue Elon does the same. But I'm also a full-grown man with a mission to complete, and I have lots to do. And sometimes I cannot be sitting at home with the kid playing kid things because I have to do big, important things. And my son will call me after he's finished karate and he's beat some kid's ass, and I'll say, good job. You're living up to the Tate name. Now I have to go beat the prosecutor's ass, and we're warriors, and I'll see you in 2 days. The jet will be waiting. See you soon, son. And everyone's going to attack me and insult me, and that's fine. But is that very interesting, what your father said about who the man you are today, right? Can't you judge by results? Isn't that how we're supposed to operate anyway? The whole scientific method is you do X, Y, Z. What is the outcome? So your father did what he did to make you who you are. I saw my father about the same, and I am who I am. And I see my kids more than my dad saw me. And also, I have a lot more financial capability and fame and influence than my dad had. And he managed to raise me one of the most influential people on the planet. So I'm very sure my kids will be fine. And all my haters and detractors, the little pastor in Nebraska who thinks he's a tough guy, I would argue, and I state this is not hyperbole. I would argue that my sons will beat your sons in any competition you can name. My children are smarter than yours, and they'll beat the shit out of your boys. And I fucking guarantee it. And I'll also guarantee in 20 years from now, you're going to see the UFC roster, Tate. So you can hate me all you want, But when the results are world champions, when the results are endlessly influential males, which continue to fight the matrix as I grow old, it doesn't matter what you say. What matters is the end result. And my children are being bred for war. My sons don't do what your sons do, Mr. Pastor. My sons don't scroll YouTube aimlessly. My sons don't go to school and be programmed with garbage. My sons spend 12 hours a day, every day, preparing for their future life, which is going to be similar to mine. Nothing but heartache and stress and war. My sons are ready to go to jail now at 5.
Let's not put the 5-year-old in jail, Tate.
They're ready at 5. At 5, they're like, yes, sir. If they say I have to go, sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir. My children, I could say to my sons, sit down. And I can tell them to sit down in quiet, without an iPad, without a TV, and they will sit still for 5 straight hours and just sit there. Because I told them to. They understand. This is my world, and you're being raised in it. I watch other children without an iPad, they're throwing a fit, won't eat their food, this garbage. All these people want to accuse me of being a bad parent. Look at your fucking kids. My kids are quiet on planes. My kids are in a row. My kids are saying yes, sir, no, sir. My kids are quiet on command. My kids don't need entertainment. My kids are perfect. And I'm not just saying that as a father. I guarantee you, when you next see me and my children, you'll be like, he wasn't lying. My kids are soldiers. So don't worry about my children. Worry about yours. And if you really believe that I'm a bad parent and you're better than me, I'll tell you what. Your son and my son can meet in the cage. We'll sell it.
5-year-old kids in the cage?
5, 10, 15, 20, 60, doesn't matter. You tell me when your kid is ready and my kid will beat the shit out of yours. And I'll beat the shit out of you.
Would you?
Anytime, any place. Father, son, Royal Rumble. Call Dana.
That'd be ridiculous.
Anytime, any place. Father, son,
Let's go.
call Dana.
Hulk Hogan.
I will get that pastor by his neck. And I will show him. I will show him a man. I will get that pastor by his neck and finish him. And my son will do the same to his offspring.
Pat, I want to hear the rest of your list because you went to 1 and then he started doing 5-year-olds in cages.
I will finish them.
Tate, do you believe in hitting your kids?
I believe in life there is a line in which violence appears. I want to make this very clear because people are going to try and misinterpret it. I do not believe in abusing children. I do not believe in beating children at all. But I believe in life there is a line in which violence appears. And this is true for everyone. People often say, shouldn't hit girls. So yeah, you're right, shouldn't hit girls. I'd never hit a girl. Say, well, that's not necessarily true. I'm sure if a girl turned up and set your house on fire and then killed your dog and then tried to stab you, you'd do something, right? I mean, police officers shoot women when they charge at them with knives. Like, nobody is off limits to violence. Yeah. There is a line that if you cross, violence appears. Now, do I hit my kids? No, because I don't have to. But would I? Sure. If I say, you better stop, and he disobeys me. You better stop, he disobeys me. I'm a man and you're a child, and I'm about to show you why. You don't want to find out. This is your last warning. If he defies me, he has crossed the line where violence will appear. Will he be hurt? No. Will he suffer bruises and will he need to go to hospital? Of course not. He'll be absolutely fine. But he will learn that there's a line. Now, we all know that as men. We all know if I get in your face and keep talking too much, sooner or later, we're going to fight. We all know that, right? So how can I raise boys and not prepare them for the real world? The real world that we live in, not the false world that women want to live in, not the false world that liberals want to live in. In the real world, if you run your mouth, sooner or later, you're going to get checked. So you have to be prepared to fight for every single word you say or don't say it. And I think it makes me a good father to make it clear to my boys that if you want to talk tough, that's fine, but there will be consequences. Now, if you beat me up, then you can keep talking. If you beat me, then you can talk.
Kids beat Andrew.
You want some
respect to this
You want
kid.
some of this?
Yeah, I'll say to him, look, I've given you an opinion. You've given me your opinion. It seems there's an impasse here. Yeah. It looks like we have to go kinetic, sir. So if you beat me, then you can continue to tell me you want Cheerios. But I've said there's no motherfucking Cheerios. So it is what it is. So the answer, truthfully, respectfully, would I hit my children? If they cross the line, yes. Am I psycho? No. Have I had to hit my kids thus far? No. But one of the main reasons I don't have to hit them is because they know I would. Let's analyze this. This is important. One of the reasons I don't have to hit my kids is because they know I would. One of the reasons the police don't have to shoot you is because you know they would. If you knew the police would never shoot you, you wouldn't comply. You comply because you know there is a threat of violence at the end of it. And there's a lot of people who are anti-violence, right? People go, oh, violence is bad. Guys, wake up. Violence is the underpinning of civilized society. Violence runs everything. This world we currently live in is run by violence. Why am I returning to Romania on the 23rd of March? Because if I don't, they'll put out a piece of paper. It's just a piece of paper. What can a piece of paper do to you? Well, that piece of paper means guys are going to come get me. And who are those people? Why don't I tell them to fuck off? Because if I do, they will become violent. That piece of paper has power because it is backed by the threat of violence. A police officer has power because it's backed by the threat of violence. And a father has power because it is backed by the threat of violence. My sons know if they disrespect me, there will be consequences.
What do you think you owe them? What do you think you owe your kids?
It's a really good question. Let me quickly analyze if I owe them or if they owe me. Because I feel like they owe a lot to our last name. I feel like they're heavily indebted already. I feel like they owe me and they owe my father and they owe our last name and they owe our bloodline. I feel like they owe me. I owe them the best chance they can be to be their best selves. Of course I do. And I am heavily interested. I am father of the year. Anyone who thinks I'm not a father, I guarantee you I spend more time micromanaging my son's upbringing to make him a hero than you could possibly believe. So I do have a duty to them to give them the best possible chance, but they have a duty to me to not squander it. My children have a massive burden over their head, which is the Tate name. And people often say, oh, you know, it's bad to have a father who you're trying to live up to. Da, da, da. I mean, I'm sure loads of psychologists say this, but they're all liars anyway. Psychology doesn't work. They've never cured anybody ever. So psychology is garbage, and therapists are garbage, and liberals are garbage, and what women think about raising boys is garbage too. That's all garbage. I think the best thing that can happen for a boy to be raised into a kingdom and look up and say, shit, dad's the fucking man. I gotta be like dad. This is hard. Oh, it's a burden of performance. Oh, does that make you feel stressed? Welcome to life, son. Because guess what? I have a burden of performance. I have a burden of performance in that courtroom. I have a burden of performance after a 12-hour flight to get off the jet and walk out to the media and deal with them. I have a burden of performance permanently and endlessly. So that's the real world. If you're a man, you have a burden of performance. So I make sure that they understand that from a very young age.
Example. The example is what you owe them.
Yeah.
Everything else?
No, it's my job. You know what? It's actually a balancing act. And I'll be honest with you, very honest with you. Raising daughters is so much easier. Because with my daughters, I feel like I just want her to be happy. You know, my daughter, I just want her to be happy. You want to be a princess? Oh, you're a mermaid. That's great. You're a mermaid. You're a princess. It's Christmas. You're happy. You're smiling. With my daughters, I just want them happy. But with my sons, it's far more detailed because I don't want my sons to be happy as much as I want them to be capable. I don't want my sons to be miserable, of course, but I don't wake up and think, just make him happy. I do with my daughters. I'm the worst. I'm a girl. With a girl dad, she wants a toy. Give her the toy. Oh, he wants a toy. He wants what? What does he want? How many push-ups has he done? What do you mean toy? What toy? Bring him here. And I get mad because with your sons, you're far more, you have to prepare them for life as a man.
Yeah.
It's harder.
Toughness.
It's hard to be a man. So I have a duty, truthfully, I think to my sons, the hardest thing is for me not to be as soft as I want to be.
Ooh.
Like with my daughter, with your daughters, you get to just be yourself. And everyone thinks that I'm a big, mean, evil man. But you'll often know if you've been through enough life that the mob bosses or the big evil man, we're the softest guys. I'm so soft with my daughters and with my kids. And sometimes with the boys, it's hard to be hard on them. But you have to be. It's my duty sometimes to harden my heart and say, no.
Tate,
So
how many kids do you have?
Let me ask this question. I got a crazy question for you. So your daughter, one of them, later on, she brings a guy home. He's like you, okay?
Okay.
And confident, not intimidated by
I'll
you.
whoop his ass, but
he's respectful, but he's confident, and he's kind of like you. He comes in with a swagger because that's what they're used to, right?
Of course.
They get married. 5 years later, they got 2 kids. Okay. She finds text messages. She finds out he's got a handful of girls on the side. You find out through your guys who run the clubs that they report, because people are going to, guys like us, we're going to be reported back. Everything's coming back to us.
Of course.
You find out he's hooked up with 3, 4, 5 girls on the side. Are you confronting him?
So I say this, and I've answered this question before, and people find my answer surprising, but I'm going to be very honest with you. My plan for my daughters, and my number one hope for my daughters, if I could plan their lives head to toe, would be for them to, at a relatively young age, meet a man who is older than them, who can take care of them financially and get pregnant and have a family. If my 21-year-old daughter wanted to marry a 48, 50-year-old guy, I'd be very happy with that. I'd be like, good. He's probably settled down a bit. He has enough money to take care of you. You're going to be good. In this scenario, which you've just described, if the man is financially providing for her, if he's offering her provision and protection and she's safe, I would truthfully, from the bottom of my heart, say to her, look, there's no point losing the man who's paying for you, who takes care of you, who will die for you, who protects you, who does all of those jobs as a man because he's running around with a few silly girls. There's no point leaving him. You can confront him, we could talk to him, but there's no point in destroying your family home over this. That's what I would say. People may think I'm not telling the truth, but I'm telling you that's what I would genuinely say. You know, we talk about marriage. There's a really great guy. There's a really great guy on Twitter, Devin Erickson, I think his name is. Everyone follow him. And he replied to my video I made on Elon Musk. No, that's not him. That's a little dork.
From Nebraska.
That's a little nerd from Nebraska. That's one of the pastor's kids. That's one of the pastor's sons. We don't need them.
Devin Erickson almost got a shout out. Okay, that guy's not a
is.
dork. All right.
All right. Find his reply. I would like to read this verbatim, please. Find his reply to my Elon video where I explain that having children is the business of kings. Please find, he did a thread breakdown of it. This is about 2 weeks ago. His reply to my Elon video. If you can find it, that's not it. There's another one. If you can find it, I would love to read it verbatim because he explains something which is so pertinently important. It's extremely important. So we'll find it. But he talks about what marriage effectively is.
While he's looking for it, do you have a summary?
Yeah. So what he's saying is people will say Andrew has a bunch of baby mamas and that he's irresponsible. But truthfully, a man's true obligations are protection and provision. This is why the Bible said if you rape a woman, you have to marry her. People see that as, oh, that's bad for the woman. But what they were trying to do is say to men, you're responsible for what you create. You now need to protect her. You must provide for her because of what you've done. It was almost like marriage was not a punishment for the man, but an obligation for the man. And he was explaining that marriage throughout the longest period in human time was protection and provision. That's all it was. A king could have more wives because he could protect and provide for more wives. He's saying marriage was not bouquets. Marriage was not remembering anniversaries. Marriage was not date nights. Marriage was not holding hands. Marriage was, do I protect you? Do I provide for you? So he effectively defended me and said, Andrew does not have a bunch of baby mamas. He has a bunch of wives because they're all paid for. They're all protected. They all have private security. They're all in mansions. They all drive Bentleys. He's doing his job as a man. That's what a man is supposed to do, effectively. So I would say to my daughter, are your bills paid? Now, if he cuts the money off, or if he refuses to help her or protect her, if he leaves her in the ghetto, that's a different conversation. But if my daughter came to me and said, Dad, say, yes, what's up, my love? I'm living in my mansion and I'm driving my Bentley and I have my 4 nannies and my private security guards. And I found out that my ultra rich husband has a little girlfriend who's 19 and I'm 36 now and he has his little young, hot, cute girl. I'd say, don't stress him out and piss him off. Just give him 2 days off a week and get over it. That's what I would say. That's the truth. That's what I would say. Welcome to the real world. It may not be nice, it may not be pretty. The real world isn't. But at least you're paid for, at least you're taken care of.
Is this it, Rob?
Yes.
You want to read this? Okay. Time to take a break. Shit down and give some context. Andrew Tate in this video gives us the what. Here's the why. Triathons don't know what marriage is or what it's for because they think traditional means 100 years ago. The white Christian European model of marriage isn't traditional marriage at all. It's a redesign, a redefinition of marriage. It's marriage 2.0. We'll see how in a minute. First, we need to admit that marriage isn't instinctive. There are species that mate for life, sandhill cranes and whatnot. Monogamy isn't a struggle for them. It's instinctive. They just do it. Humans do not instinctively mate for life. They just mate. The men mate when they can impress women. Women mate when they are impressed by men. And the women of the hominid pack babysit each other's children. Fast forward to the beginning of a Neolithic era. Now all of a sudden there are actually something to own. Fields, cattle, buildings, wealth, and men own the wealth because they were the ones who did stuff you need to do to get it. Why the men? Because men had to impress women to mate. All women have to do is mate to be impressed. But since property was Neolithic, humans survived, and men had all the property, mating arrangements had to adapt so that a mother could eat and a son could be raised and inherit the father's cattle. If a man put a child in a woman, she was his wife. If he put a child in another woman, she was also his wife. If he put a child in 100 women, he had 100 wives. And those women and children could rely on his spear for defense and his fields and cattle for support. That's marriage. If you want to understand this context, look at the part of the Bible that says a man who rapes him, this is what you were talking about. Yeah. Got it. Sounds insane if you go through it. Modern era Americans run comments about ancient people didn't care about romance and mate choice. They were busy trying to... Okay, so by the way, you know Amor, remember Amor? Did you ever meet Amor or no? You definitely know Amor.
Of course, yeah.
Amor would come from here. Amor's an Armenian man who was my chief compliance officer.
Love him more.
Love Amor. When we sold the company and he got $1 million
name.
check, it was a great
Him
name.
and
And by
Tom
the way,
were great roommates.
that name matches exactly who you think he is.
Yeah.
Ladies loved him.
I bet.
Armenian guy with an accent who would speak French.
Yeah, he was French.
And he would call all the girls darling, darling, hey darling, and they would just fall in love with this guy.
Yeah.
He
does yoga.
explained this was the purpose of man. It's purely mating. He would always explain this. That's what it's about. Back in the days, the guys who had it, their job was to mate. Now, we are living in a different era.
Of course
today.
we are.
So the mindset has changed slightly on what they're thinking. I added two other things. I added intentionality, accessibility to kids so they can get a hold of you, love, and example. Partly kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, and accessibility is also a very important one. I'll be honest. Like, if a lot of this comes down to money, but I don't want to be shallow, but so much in life comes down to money because money is your capability to do many things, right? There's no way you can effectively raise that many children without a huge source of money. Of course, it's very expensive to do. But if you do have a huge source of money, I think Amor and I would have a very long conversation about the fact that cars get boring and watches get boring, and you may as well have a whole bunch of children. You may as well have a whole bunch of sons if you can afford to raise them. And you have the time, you can take the time out of work because you're rich enough to put effort and focus into them. I'm not looking to just have children and abandon them. I'm not trying to just create genetic progeny that are forgotten about. The Tate boys need effort. The Tate boys need energy. The Tate boys need money because they're the Tate boys. But I like to think I can afford 20. So that's what I'm going to do. And women, and this is something else we have to discuss about women, because this actually ties back into the human trafficking and the feminism and all these things. Women are in a very interesting position now in Western society where they are equals, while also being better than us because they're girl bosses, while also being children because every time they make a decision that other people don't like or they end up not liking, they didn't do it, someone tricked them. So we're in this three-phase garbage scenario where women are better than you, plus children, plus you're equal. Because when I say that the women I'm with are happy for me to have children with other women, you've tricked them. They're full-grown adults. I thought they were our equal. I thought they could come up to their own conclusions. I thought they could sit there and go, you know what? A life from Andrew Tate. I get to be one of the most famous men in the world. He's extremely security conscious. I get to be very rich. I know my kids are going to be brown, sexy, tall, strong. They're going to have Patek Philippe's, diamonds, etc. It's fine. That's their decision to make, right? But people are going to pretend that I fooled them somehow. And I actually think this is an interesting segue into how we fix modern society. And one of the most important distinctions we need to make as a civilization in the West, because all of our problems, from false rape charges, which I know a lot about, to feminism, to all of this garbage, comes down to this impossible scenario where women are girl bosses and better than men at everything, while also being our equal, while also needing DEI to get anywhere, while also being children who are permanently tricked into everything. And this is a really interesting scenario to be in. And I can give you a very simple example. If there's a crazy bitch, Megan Kelly, okay, now. If there's a crazy woman, right? And she's nuts, and she takes Valium to sleep every night, and she's on mental health medication, and she drinks all the time, and she's crazy, and everyone knows she's a hoe. She's been with all the guys in town, and I marry her. And then she divorces me and takes half my money. And I come to you guys and go, guys, I used to be rich. I had to cut the baguette in half. I lost it. She took all my money. You will sit and say to me, why did you marry her? She's nuts. Everyone knows she's nuts. You will blame me, right? Whereas if a woman goes out, takes drugs, gets high, gets drunk, goes to the club, kisses 4 men, kisses the 5th man, gets in the taxi with him, goes back to the hotel, initiates sex with him, has sex with him, has no problem with that sex, asks him for a handbag 2 years later. He says no, then cries rape. No one will say, why did you do all those things? Why were you high? Why were you in his hotel? Why did you have sex with him? Instead, we'll say, that man's a predator. Why? We always blame the man. Women are not held accountable ever. It's always the man's fault all of the time. My argument to that is, if that's the paradigm, if the men are permanently the only ones we blame for anything, then how can you make women better than us at everything and give them any kind of autonomy? You have to either say to women, listen to your father, then listen to your man, because you don't know good for yourself. Or you have to say, you know good for yourself, so you're responsible for the scenarios you find yourself in. All of the world's problems come from the fact that we're picking and choosing, like Schrodinger's cat, picking and choosing at random, depending on the scenario, whether a woman is better than a man or a completely helpless child who is fooled all of the time. And when you apply this to society, there's not a single problem you can't tie back to this exact thing. And it's scary and it's dangerous. There's not a single man on the planet now in the Western world that can even truthfully get consent to have sex, because consent can be retrospectively taken back. So you could be a man and meet a woman and have sex with her and have a full happy relationship. You could be with her for 2 years and you could be together and she can live with you and everything could be fine. And then the second she doesn't like you, she can say to the police, he abused me. Like, did he abuse you? Well, he didn't hit me, but he emotionally abused me. Oof. How? What does that mean? I felt sad sometimes. Okay, arrest him. What? This is an impossible scenario for a man to be in. This is why also I have my women, I have my wives. I'm done. All these beautiful Instagram models, stop begging. I'm sorry. I'm done. I don't trust any of you. I'm done. Because if I talk to any new girl, it's going to be great until I don't buy the handbag. It's going to be great till I don't put her on that jet because another girl's on that jet. Now I got all these problems and I've had enough. So I'm done with women. But isn't it absolutely insane that we're living in a world now where no one wants to address the fact that women can weaponize the legal system to destroy men absolutely at random? And they do it to every single man. This is why they attacked me with sexual crimes, because even the accusation is enough for them to get what they want, which is to damage your reputation. And they can simply do it by lying by omission. Let me ask you a question as a professional. Let's be pertinent. Let's be smart here. If I'm the police and I want to destroy a man, and I call 100 women who he's ever known, and 99 say he's a great guy, and 1 says he's a bad guy, I don't have to mention that 99 said he's a great guy. I can lie by omission. I can ignore all 99 who defended him, all 99 who say he's a great guy, all 99 who says the one other girl is a psycho liar. We can ignore that too. We can take this one girl and destroy the man. What's this one girl's motivation? Well, he's no longer giving her money. He's famous, he's rich, he's well known, he's living his life, he has a new girlfriend. Let me ask you this, and I don't even know the answer. What percentage of women are on mental health medication? What percentage of women are depressed? You think women don't lie? I would argue, and I'm going to guess, 17 to 24% of women are on drugs because they can't control their own brains. But we're going to listen to the one we find out of 100 saying a man's a bad guy because he made her feel sad once 4.5 years ago. Destroy this man? Do you not understand that this paradigm, 17.7%, I'm a genius. I'm a genius.
56% receive mental health treatment.
And half of them are nuts. I'm a genius. So this is my point. No, but let's understand. Why has the Matrix put this paradigm together? Why do they allow and continue to tell us that women are better than us to destroy masculinity? They're equal to us, even though they need DEI. And at the same time, they're children who are susceptible to our godlike powers to control their minds and that we're responsible for all of their decisions. It's very simple. Because by putting together that paradigm, they can pick any man at random they don't like. Me, Trump, Hegseth, I think, had this. Matt Gaetz had this. They can pick any man at random they don't like. They can call every girl he's ever known, and they can get a criminal case. That's how they do it. Let me tell you something else about women. This happened to me. I had women who didn't even intend to rat on me, and they didn't. But the police bring them in. Women are not prepared for 10-hour police interviews. If you bring a woman in and go, did Andrew ever hurt you? No. Did he ever abuse you? No. He's abusive to women. Well, he wasn't abusive to me. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Well, did he ever make you sad? Well, we argued sometimes. Yeah, so that's abuse. Well, I don't think it is. Well, when you were sad, what did you do? Well, we just went out. You just ignored me and went to work. With another girl, right? Yeah, I think so. After 10 hours, they end up believing they're a victim. They brainwash them. And they know what they're doing. The police are trained to do this so they can get that one chick to wreck your life with. And this is what's extremely important. Anyone who understands the world, they do this on purpose so that no man is safe because it is the warriors, the men. Now, if you're the kind of man who's going to stand up and fight against the system and fight against the matrix and resist enslavement, have you had sex? Probably. You're probably not an incel virgin, right? You're probably the kind of guy who knows some chicks. That's the attack vector always. They go, Andrew Tate, girls. Hegseth, girls. Matt Gaetz, girls. Trump, girls. They use women. They weaponize them against men. And this is something that not a lot of people understand. And it's scary, and it's something we need to fix. As a society, we have to make a decision. Are women sentient beings? Do women come to their own conclusions or not? Let's talk about human trafficking. Nobody who's accusing me and tweeting these stupid things even knows my fucking charges. I thought human trafficking, I didn't know what human trafficking was. I thought human trafficking was getting someone, beating them up, putting them in chains, dragging them somewhere, keeping them chained up, and forcing them to do something, sex or wash dishes, whatever. That's what I thought human trafficking was. But in this insane subjective world, where women are children who can be fooled into anything. They're saying human trafficking is, no, you used the lover boy method. You were nice to her. And because you were nice to her and you used financial incentives to make her do something, you're telling me I was nice to my girlfriend and bought her a handbag and that made her do something? And that's human trafficking? Guys, analyze this. If you are nice to a woman and buy her a present and she does anything ever, even if you didn't tell her to do it, they could say, he made her do that. He made her have TikTok. And even if she says, no, he didn't make me have TikTok, like the girls in my case saying, no, he didn't hurt us. The girls in my case are defending me. Doesn't matter what you say, he brainwashed you. He made you have TikTok because he bought you handbags. Guys, please understand, no man is safe from this bullshit. No man is safe. And that's why they keep this so vague. People talk about consent all the time. You need to get consent, get consent. How can you get something they can take away years later? You can't get consent. That's why a huge proportion of the men, the young men in the world today, are just checking out of girls and checking out of sex. Like, oh, fuck this. It's a mess. I'm not even getting involved in it. I can't blame them. It's a minefield. Nobody's safe from this garbage. Absolutely nobody.
So, by the way, debate. Do you ever watch a debate, presidential debate, and you say, man, I'd love to be on the stage debating someone? Do you ever itch for it or no?
Sometimes, yeah. I love, yeah, sometimes. Let me ask why you're asking the question.
I'm asking a question because I watch you, and we've spent I don't know how many times we've done this. So this is what we're on our 12th hour, right, of doing podcasts, and we've only done 3, and first 2, each of them was 5 hours. We have the conversations together, and I watch you make your arguments, make your case, right? To think how your father shaped you and Tristan's mindset. If I have an impression of your father was like, he was a guy that would teach you sequencing and to do to the enemy what he or she is trying to do to you. Absolutely. Okay, mentally, right? I mean, and by the way, part of it is, what you have to do when you're raising strong kids. You have to do it because, especially in today's society, it's a very tough society. Was a part of you wanting to run for prime minister in UK a publicity stunt? Were you sick of it, or were you itching to make the place better?
I think one of the things my father instilled in me, and it came from his teachings and it came from lots of different lessons, but especially it came from chess, is because chess is ruthless. There's a lot of people, especially men, who I'm surprised by this fact, but I would argue it's the truth, who believe their enemies are going to have pity or mercy. There's a lot of men who you'd be surprised believe that pity is going to appear or mercy is going to appear somewhere. And if you change your mindset and change your framing to understand that your enemies are never going to have mercy on you, they're never going to see you as a human, they're never going to feel sorry for you ever, then the only end result to that is action. And the only action is to fight back. There's a whole lot of men who go, well, if I'm just quiet, or if I just behave, or if I'm just good in front of the police, or if I'm just nice to the judge, they'll let me off. No, they won't. Your enemies are out here to mercilessly crush you. They don't care about what happens to you. They do not feel responsible for the consequences. They do not have empathy for you. They're not interested in any of that. Look what the liberals tried to do to the conservatives when they had power. The biggest problem with conservatives is we don't do that, right? We're going to allow our enemies to just walk around and get away with everything, right? But when they're in power, they crush mercilessly. That comes from chess. When you're getting crushed in a chess position, praying that he's nice to you in a tournament is insane. It's not going to happen. When you're in the cage and you're fighting and you're on the bottom and he's grounding and pounding you, you can't sit there and go, maybe he'll feel sorry for me. None of this is real. None of this is real. So when I look at the UK, I look how insane it is. I look how they're trying to destroy my life. I look at how they're wrecking the country. I look at how everything's a complete mess. I don't sit there and expect these people to one day wake up empathetic. I don't expect them to one day wake up and get a brain, or wake up one day and realize what they're doing wrong. I see them as violent oppressors who have no intention to do anything other than instill full communism amongst the entire population. So there's only one choice. You either let them do it or you fight back. What are you going to do? You either let them get away with it or you resist them. So my intention to become UK Prime Minister is absolutely 100% legitimate. I want to save the country I grew up in, because if I don't do it, they're going to succeed. There's only ever been a good man against a bad man. If you're going to let the bad men run rampant, they're going to finally conquer. So I am absolutely serious about saving the United Kingdom if I can. I'm going to do my absolute best. That's why they want to put me in jail. They know I'm a threat to them politically. They know that. That's why they want to lock me up for my tweets.
What do you think happened to UK?
I can tell you what happened to the UK. I have a lot of theories. Firstly, I would argue that the royal family was collapsed by therapy and psychiatry. This is a theory I've come up with completely out of nowhere.
Literally, like you believe this.
You know, when I got the 17%, I'm just that guy. I just know things.
Okay.
Right? I just know things. I would argue that the royal family, which was the backbone of the United Kingdom, was being held together by the Queen. When the Queen died, I said to Tristan, this is the end of England. Because the Queen was the last respectable member of the royal family. I like Kate and Will. I like them. But I would argue that when Diana died, the boys were put through endless therapy and psychotherapy and all of this garbage. And I think it is one of the largest and most dangerous industries in the world today. It's as dangerous as pharmaceuticals. Making full-grown men sit down and cry and talk about how hard their life is the worst thing you can do with full-grown men. I really would argue. I would argue it's not a real science. I would argue it's subjective garbage. And I would argue there's nothing that will destroy your mind faster than therapy. I think the entire royal family was completely hijacked by these therapists and these psychoanalysts that have turned everything weird. That's why Meghan and what's his name? The one who married Meghan. I can't remember his name. Harry's weird with Meghan. She bosses him around. It's all just weird.
Harry is not the top G.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I think all of that's down to psychiatry. We could talk about why I have my theories on psychiatry a little bit after. So that's the royal family. As for the political class, the Europeans currently are stuck in a very difficult scenario because I really don't see how they currently align with the United States government on nearly anything. They are full communist. They're full femme-centric. It's a matriarchy. It is collapsing in real time economically. The men which reside inside of Europe don't seem to have enough in them to resist this enslavement and this population replacement, which is another huge thing we have to talk about in Europe. Europe's being completely destroyed, and there's no masculinity to resist it, it seems. If you destroy masculinity inside of a society, the society is ripe for conquest. And the average man in Europe simply is not man enough to get other men together, to find other men, to resist. But let's talk about this. This is an important point. I take my glasses off for this because it's extremely important. Europe has destroyed free speech. Why does this matter? I'll tell you why this matters. If you're a billionaire or if you're in charge, you can lie. So if you're in charge of things, you can stand up in front of the cameras and say, I'm going to do X. And then behind the scenes, you can do Y. You're allowed to lie because you have actual power. Whereas if you are not powerful, your only power is in numbers. So you can't lie because you need to find other people who align with you and think like you do so that you can win in large numbers. So you have to be able to say what you think and say what you feel to find the other members of your army so you can all stand up and get in a crowd and say enough is enough. So the reason they silence free speech in Europe so heavily is so that you never find the other people who think like you. That's the reason they shut down social media so hard. So you can't stand up and say, this is garbage. Because if you do, you go to jail. So even if you think it, you don't say it. And as an unimportant man, you can't lie. You can't tweet, this is not garbage, and still be effective. Whereas a billionaire can lie and still be effective. The common man needs speech and needs truth to find an army that allows him to resist oppression. And that is why Europe is gone psycho, Stalin, full Stasi on speech. That's what they're afraid of. Because if you could tell the truth in England on social media for a week, there'd be a revolution. And they know that. That's why they want me in jail. That's why they don't let anyone tell the truth. They know that. Keir Starmer himself knows that. That's why they've done what they've done. So the UK has a lack of masculinity. All of Europe does. You add in free speech problems. You add in the fact that you can't find other men to stand beside you at war. You have the odd warrior who pops his head up and gets his head chopped clean off. That's the problem with Europe.
Yeah, he came the other day. I think it was a week and a half ago. He
Look at his face. That's the face of evil. Keir, when you lock me up in Belmarsh, which I know you're going to do, that's fine. That is the face of evil, sir. Look at that. That is incompetence incarnate. Look, that's not a leader. England was the greatest country in the world. I